Okay, so, listeners, get this. You're walking into a fancy hotel, right? You know that feeling, everything's calm, the air is like perfectly cool, maybe a little piano music in the background.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
And then, like magic, someone takes your bags before you can even think about it.
It's like effortless, yeah.
Exactly. But behind all that, there's a ton of work going on, a whole system.
Oh, totally. It's a well-oiled machine. But here's where it gets interesting. What if AI was part of that machine?
It's kind of weird to think about, right? Because luxury is all about that personal touch.
Yeah, it seems a little strange at first.
But we're diving into this interview with Riccardo Giacometti, a total pro in the luxury hotel world, and he's saying AI can actually make that human touch even better.
No way, really. Where'd you find this interview?
It was in a Swiss business publication, not really where you'd expect to find cutting-edge AI stuff, right?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
So what's this Giacometti guy all about?
Oh, he's the real deal. He's managed iconic hotels like the St. Regis, the Atlantis by Giardino. He's seen it all.
Wow, so he's not just some tech guy talking about hotels.
Exactly. And he says AI isn't about replacing people. It's about giving the staff the time and energy to really focus on those high-touch interactions. You know what I mean?
I'm starting to see where you're going with this.
He actually says AI is not a replacement for human interaction. It is the enabler. Isn't that a great quote?
It's so true, though. I mean, how many times have you been stuck doing some mindless task at work and you're like, wish I had time for this stuff that actually matters?
All the time. And that's Giacometti's point. AI can take over those energy-sucking tasks so we can focus on the good stuff. And he has some wild examples of how this is already happening in hotels. For instance, staff scheduling.
Staff scheduling? Really? How can AI help with that?
We're not talking about some basic calendar app here. He's talking about AI that looks at all this data, how many guests they have, what time of year it is, even when each staff member is available, and then boom, it creates these crazy optimized schedules in minutes.
Wow, so it does all the hard work for you.
Yeah.
But how does that actually make things better for the staff? And the guests, for that matter.
Well, think about it. With better schedules, you have less overtime, which means happier employees.
Right. And happier employees mean better service, which leads to happier guests. It's a win-win.
Exactly. And that's just one example. He talks about using AI for price monitoring, too.
Wait, really? Like for those tiny bottles of shampoo they charge you an arm and a leg for?
Well, not just that. He gives this example of a specific type of coffee bean suddenly getting more expensive, like way more expensive.
Okay, and I'm guessing in a luxury hotel, even a small price jump like that can really add up.
You got it. But AI can flag that kind of stuff immediately so the hotel can adjust, maybe negotiate a better deal, and protect their bottom line.
It's like having a superpowered assistant who's always looking out for those little details that can save you big bucks.
Right. And it made me realize this applies to so many different businesses, not just hotels. It's about using data to make smarter decisions, no matter what you're doing. It's like work smarter, not harder, on a whole other level.
I love that. But we've been talking about all this behind-the-scenes stuff. What about the guests? How is AI being used to personalize their experience? Because at the end of the day, that's what luxury is all about, right?
Totally. And that's where it gets even more interesting. Giacometti talks about how AI can look at guest data, like their preferences and past behaviors, and even factor in local events or the weather. And get this, it can predict things like how many guests will be dining at the hotel restaurant that night.
Oh, that's smart. So no more overstaffing or scrambling to find last-minute servers on a busy Saturday night.
Exactly. It's all about having the right number of people on hand to deliver that top-notch dining experience, but not having too many people standing around when it's quiet.
I can see how this kind of thinking could apply to other parts of the hotel, too, like housekeeping or concierge services.
Exactly. And we haven't even talked about sustainability yet. Giacometti says AI can play a huge role there, too.
Really? That connection didn't immediately jump out at me. How so?
Well, for one thing, AI can analyze food waste patterns and figure out ways to reduce it. It can even help hotels find more sustainable suppliers to work with.
Wow, so it's not just about saving money, it's about aligning with those values that are becoming more and more important to luxury consumers these days.
Exactly. It's like AI is helping these hotels become more ethical and responsible, too.
And it's not just the big stuff either. He even talks about using AI to help hotel staff find information more easily.
Okay, now I'm curious, like replacing those giant guest directories with iPads?
Nope, even better. He suggests uploading all their employee handbooks, training manuals, all that stuff, right into something like ChatGPT.
Now that's smart. So instead of flipping through pages and pages...
Exactly. They could just ask ChatGPT their question and get an instant answer. Imagine how much time that would save.
It's like having a 24/7 digital mentor on hand.
Right. Plus, think about the consistency it would bring to the guest experience. No more slightly different answers depending on who you ask.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about all the possibilities, right? And it all ties back to this idea of freeing us up from those tedious tasks.
Totally. Letting us focus on the stuff that really matters. The human connection, the creativity,
100%. It's like AI is giving us the space to be more human, not less.
Well, how about working smarter, not harder?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just individual employees who benefit. Giacometti argues that this shift allows hotel leadership to think bigger picture,
Because they're not so bogged down in the day-to-day operations?
Exactly. They have the bandwidth to focus on those strategic decisions that really elevate the guest experience. But there's a catch.
Oh.
What's that? Apparently, the biggest hurdle isn't the AI tech itself. It's the mindset of the people in charge.
Really? That's interesting. You'd think it would be the opposite, like people being afraid of the technology or whatever.
Right. But Giacometti says a lot of hotel leaders are hesitant. They worry about losing control, about the cost of implementing new systems.
Or maybe even their own jobs, right? Even though we've been talking about how this is not about replacing people.
Exactly. And that's what Giacometti emphasizes over and over again. AI is a tool. It's about making humans more capable, not pushing them out of the picture.
It's about using AI ethically and responsibly in a way that benefits everyone, not just the bottom line.
Totally. And I think that's a conversation we need to be having in every industry, not just hospitality. Right. But for those who are ready to jump in, who are excited about the potential here, what's Giacometti's advice?
Yeah, do you need to go out and buy a bunch of fancy new software, hire a team of data scientists?
Nope. And this is where it gets really interesting. Giacometti says you don't need some crazy, expensive, cutting-edge AI system to get started.
Okay, now you've got my attention. What's the secret?
It's about maximizing what you already have. He talks about hotels using things like Word, Excel, their existing reservation system, their point-of-sale system.
Stuff they're already paying for.
Exactly. He says these everyday tools, when combined with a little AI magic, become incredibly powerful.
So it's not about reinventing the wheel, it's about giving the wheel an upgrade.
Perfectly said. Like that example we talked about earlier, with hotels putting their employee handbooks into ChatGPT. Such a simple idea, but so effective.
It makes you wonder what other opportunities are hiding in plain sight, just waiting for someone to connect them with AI. What else stood out to you about Giacometti's perspective?
For all the talk about technology and efficiency and all that, I was really struck by how optimistic he is. Like, he's not naive about the challenges, but he genuinely believes that AI can make work better for everyone.
And not just work, but like our whole experience of work, right?
Yes. He thinks AI can free us from all that soul-crushing busy work, those tasks that make us feel like robots ourselves.
It's giving me hope for the future, I gotta say. What's his big vision? What does he think this all leads to?
He believes AI will give us more time for meaningful work, for building relationships, for being creative, the things that make us feel human.
It's funny, in a way, we've come full circle, back to that human touch that we were talking about at the very beginning. So much for robots serving us champagne. It's like we're using AI to become even more human, not less, which I think is a really important thing to remember, with all the scary headlines out there about AI taking over the world.
Totally. It's easy to get caught up in all that doom and gloom.
But this Giacometti guy, he's got me thinking, we actually have a choice in this whole thing.
We're not just helpless bystanders, right?
Exactly. Instead of worrying about AI taking our jobs, maybe we should be thinking about how we can use it to make our careers better. Like, how can AI help us make a bigger impact,
I love that. It's about taking back control. And actually, that reminds me of something Giacometti says at the end of the interview that really stuck with me.
Oh, what's that?
He basically says, stop being afraid of AI, and instead, help shape it.
Help shape it. How do we do that?
By getting involved, speaking up about how we want AI to be used so it benefits everyone, not just like big corporations or whatever.
It's like we have more power than we realize.
Right, totally. We can actually steer this thing in the right direction if we're paying attention.
That is a powerful thought. It's not over yet. We're not just along for the ride.
So to wrap things up, it sounds like this whole AI revolution in hotels, it's not about robots serving us cocktails.
Definitely not. It's
Yeah.
way more interesting than that. It's about making things more efficient, more sustainable, and ultimately giving those hotel workers the tools they need to create really incredible human experiences for their guests.
Exactly. Well said.
Well, huge thanks to you for breaking all of this down for us today. I don't know about you, but I kind of want to book a fancy hotel stay just to see all this AI magic in action.
Right. Don't forget to pack your AI-powered suitcase.
Ah. And for our listeners, if you want to check out that Giacometti interview, we'll have a link for you in the show notes. But for now, just remember, keep your eyes open and your minds flexible because AI is popping up everywhere. Who knows what we'll deep dive into next time? Until then.